By July, most gardens have started to fade, but mine hasn't because of one trick. Hi, it's Steph. Welcome back to our garden. The trick is succession planting. Just as one plant fades, another one is coming in to take its place. And I have done this to my garden over several years so that I have a garden that blooms from spring through fall. And today I'm going to share with you 10 perennials that are looking great despite the heat of summer. Starting with number one of my favorites, coneflowers. I have several varieties of coneflowers in my garden, but the one that is the most reliable, returns and reseeds itself around is the Echinacea purpurea. It is a native variety. Now, coneflowers want to be grown in full sun and they're hardy in zones 3 through 9. Now, the thing to note about coneflowers is that they will not tolerate soggy soil. They like a well-drained soil. If you have them in soil that stays too wet for too long, they can rot at the crown and you'll lose your plant. They're also deer resistant in my garden, but the bunnies will sometimes munch on the buds closer to the ground. I usually spray a deer and rabbit repellent, which keeps them away from my plants. The pollinators absolutely love them, and they bloom for a really long time. And even when they're done blooming, you can leave the cone heads up for the winter to provide winter interest and seeds for the birds. Now, these self-seed really easily. If you want them to spread themselves around your garden, all you have to do is make sure that you have exposed soil around the plant so that when they dry out and drop seed, you can get new plants to germinate. And a classic garden perennial that every sunny garden should have, the Shasta daisy. And this is such a beautiful flower, a classic July bloom, and it lasts for a really long time in a vase. I've had it last 7 days once I cut it and bring it inside to enjoy. Just change the water out a couple of times. But this is another plant that readily self-seeds, so you can get tons of daisies all around your garden by just letting them drop seed as long as there's, again, exposed soil down beneath them. They are easy to divide, so every 3 to 4 years or so, you can divide the clumps, share them with friends, spread them around your garden. They're hardy in zones 5 through 9, and they do love full sun. Shasta daisies also bloom for several weeks. After this first initial flush, you can go through and deadhead your plant to clean it up, and there are several buds already getting ready to go. Now, you can see that these here are about the height of my fence, or about 4 feet in height, which makes them great for the back of a border, but they also come in shorter varieties. Let me show you one. Here in the front of this bed, I have a shorter variety of daisies, and these are called the Amazing Daisies Banana Cream 2, and they're a proven winner's plant, and you can see they're about half the height of the traditional Shasta daisies. They're about 2 feet in height or so, and it makes them great for like the second row of a border. You can see I have some shorter perennials in front, and then these beautiful daisies. They look gorgeous in a large drift like this. I have 4 plants planted here that I just planted late last summer or early fall, and they look absolutely beautiful. They start a bit of a yellow coloration and then they fade to this creamy ivory. They're stunning, and they've been bred to bloom for even longer than the Shasta daisy. This variety of daisy will last for several weeks longer than my Shastas, making them an amazing perennial for the garden. And number 3 is a perennial that provides a lot of texture in the garden and contrasts beautifully with other perennials. Yarrow. You can see I have it here planted with coneflowers and daisies that we just talked about, and it looks so unique compared to those other plants. Provides a lot of visual interest. It has these clusters of flat blooms that go through several color changes depending on what stage the bloom is at. So it looks like you get several colors from one plant. They come in many different colors, and they also have unique foliage because it has a fern-like texture. Now, they come in several different heights. There are shorter varieties that are great for the front of the border. Most of them are going to be in this mid-height of about 24 to 32, 36 inches in height, and some varieties can get a little floppy if you get a lot of wind and a lot of rain, but this variety has been pretty sturdy. We actually got some thunderstorms last night, tons of rain, and you can see that they're still nice and upright. This is the Firefly Peach Sky. It's also a proven winner's plant. They have several colors in that line, and I have loved these in my garden. I planted them last spring in 2025, and they have done beautifully. So another really great perennial for the July garden. Number 4 is a plant that the pollinators love and provides vertical interest, Liatris. It actually goes by several names, gay feather, blazing star, and they also come in different heights. This one here that I have is a pretty compact variety. It tops out at about 18 to 20 inches. You can see that it blooms from the top to the bottom, and there are always bees and butterflies all over this plant. It has a really pretty texture as well, and it readily self-seeds. I have gotten tons of plants from this one. You can see right here, this is baby Liatris. So in a couple of seasons, I could pull these out and you'd have another full plant. You just plant them in a clump. And I have 3 groupings going down this bed, and I absolutely love them. They are hardy in zones 3 through 8, and they love full sun and a well-draining soil. And here's an extra tip. While all of the plants on my list are perennials, meaning they'll come back year after year, if you want to get more color in your garden that blooms for the whole season, you can also add some annuals. I actually started doing this a couple of seasons ago, and I love it. So here you can see I have some Rockin' Plain the Blue Salvia, I have some Truffula Pink Umphrena, and a drift of the Compact Orchid Sunpatian. These have some serious flower power and provide color all season long, non-stop. Unlike perennials, which will bloom for several weeks and then stop until the next perennial takes over, the annuals just keep going and going. So that is a really great tip. Annuals are not just for containers, you can also use them in your borders. And another plant that provides vertical interest and texture is Nephofia, also known as red hot poker. Now mine is full of buds and just getting ready to bloom, and it always blooms in July. Now red hot poker plants typically come in hot colors like oranges, yellows, and some shades of coral, but mine is actually a really pretty limey green chartreuse color. And even when this plant isn't in bloom, it provides a lot of texture with its grass-like foliage that sort of looks like an ornamental grass. Now it also blooms for a relatively long time. For a perennial, about 4 weeks or so. It will keep pushing out new buds, and the hummingbirds absolutely love the tubular shaped blooms on these plants. Nephofia is hardy in zones 5 through 9, and they love full sun and a well-draining soil. And a perennial that I do not often see in many people's gardens, it is a Stokes aster. It's this really pretty purple bloom that you see here. The variety that I have is called Peachy's Pick, and it's a gorgeous lavender purple that coordinates so nicely with my coneflowers. This will also bloom for several weeks. If you deadhead it, you will get sporadic reblooming. And I have another plant right on the side that is still full of buds. I have about 2 planted in this area. The pollinators also love it. We get bees on this plant all of the time. The Stokes aster wants to be planted in full sun to part sun, and it's hardy in zones 5 through 9. And another really interesting perennial that I don't often see used in landscapes is Culver's root. This is a perennial that is native and adds a lot of vertical height to a garden bed. You can see here I have it planted in the middle of this bed. This would be great for the back of a border. It also comes in white, but I have this really pretty kind of lavender purple color. The variety is called Cupid, and I have 3 plants planted here, and I just added them to this border last season, and they look great. The pollinators absolutely love them. I was actually working in this bed yesterday, and these plants were loaded with bees. Now, it is listed as a plant that gets to be about 48 inches in height. However, I am 5'4", and this plant is just about my height. So I would say that it's probably about 5 feet tall. So let me know in the comments if you grow Culver's root in your garden. And a perennial that many of you have been telling me about for a long time, and I finally added it this spring, Stachys Hummelo. This has actually been blooming since the end of June, and it seems to bloom for a really long time. It has a really tidy habit. You can see that it's about 30 inches or so in height, maybe 36 inches, and it's nice and upright. Really sturdy stems, nice foliage at the bottom, and this gorgeous purple pink coloration. It's also a pollinator magnet. There are bees all over this plant all of the time. So now I can't wait to add more of these all over my garden for July color. And one of the more unique blooms in my garden is this beauty here. This is globe thistle or echinops, and the variety is Blue Glow. It has this globe shape or ball-shaped flower in this beautiful shade of blue. They are just starting to color up. They actually bloom for a really long time. Pollinators also love it, and they make a beautiful companion to the Echinacea purpurea or the purple coneflower. I actually grew these from seed, very easy to grow from seed using the winter sowing method, and now I have a grouping here a grouping in the bed we just came from, as well as one on this side, and I absolutely love them. And this gorgeous plant right here, I often get questions about in my garden tours, and for good reason. It is beautiful. This is called Sahara Rudbeckia. And unlike the traditional Rudbeckia that has a golden color, this one has several sunset shades. You can see that this one has a single petal. This one has a double petal in shades of caramel and golden yellow with a little bit of a mauvey pink. This one has that beautiful mauve pink with a red center. They are just a really dynamic and colorful plant. Really beautiful. Now, I originally started these from seed several years ago, about 3 years ago now, and I thought they were only going to be an annual in my zone, but they have been happily returning for 3 years, and they're even self-seeding. You can see here I have several seedlings that are starting to grow and should bloom by next year. In year 1, they usually work on root development and foliage, and in year 2, they'll send up these beautiful blooms. So if this is one you haven't grown before, I highly recommend either trying them from seed or looking for them at a nursery because they are a beautiful bloomer for July. And this beautiful pop of purple right here is called the balloon flower or platycodon. And it's actually planted behind my yarrow because I had dug it up to put in a different place, and I left just enough root in there because they have deep tap roots where a new plant emerged. So these are a little bit difficult to move because of their deep tap root, but you can start them from seed or you can already buy an established plant. They're a really fun perennial because the blooms look like a balloon that's getting ready to pop, hence the name balloon flower. The kids really find them a lot of fun, and they bloom for a really long time. Super easy to deadhead. You just pinch those spent blooms right off, and they are a pretty compact plant with serious bloom power. They actually come in a lot of different colors as well, such as purple, white, and even pink. I actually just bought some to add to my garden. And here are the pink ones that I just purchased to add to my garden. The variety is called Popstar, and it's a very compact variety, getting to be only 8 inches in height and 8 to 10 inches in width. It's a really soft, kind of baby pink. And while I have purple in my garden, I thought that this shade of pink was really unique. So I purchased 3 of them to add to the front of one of my borders. Because they're nice and short and bushy, they're going to be a great front of the border plant. I just purchased these at Home Depot, so if it's something you're looking for, they might have some in stock at the moment because these are another excellent July bloomer. From coneflowers to Culver's root to balloon flower, as you can see, there is no shortage of color in my July garden, and succession blooming is the key. So if you want a garden that blooms from spring through fall, you need to keep adding plants that will bloom all season long. You can visit the nursery during different times of the season. Most people just visit in spring, but they're always putting out new stock, and usually things that are seasonally appropriate. So by shopping throughout the season, you can continually add plants that will extend your bloom show. I actually made one of these videos for August and September as well that I'm going to go ahead and link up here on the screen. So if you're interested in some more perennials to keep your bloom show going, go ahead and click on one of those next. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I'll catch you in the next one.